Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Iran's supreme leader vows to achieve economic resistance in a written message marking Nowruz. Meanwhile, European Union urges members to cut gas storage targets due to Iran war. Trump administration waived sanctions on purchase of Iranian oil at sea for 30 days. Move expected to benefit Asia, the top buyer of West Asian oil. US and Ukrainian negotiators to hold talks in Miami today amid the escalating tensions as Russia attacks Kyiv's oil and gas facilities in Poltava. And India and parts of the world celebrate Eid-ul-Fitr, marking culmination of the month-long Ramzan fasting. President Murmu and Prime Minister Modi extend greetings on the festivity. Good afternoon to all the viewers joining us at this afternoon broadcast. Well, news just coming in from West Asia. Israel's military has issued another missile attack warning, at least the fourth since early Saturday morning, calling on the public to move to the shelters and remain there until the threat is past. The military said air defense systems are operating to intercept the missiles which were launched from Iran. Meanwhile, Iraqi security sources have confirmed that residential Baghdad neighborhood was hit by drone attacks. The official said the drone carried out the attack on a communications building. He added that the building houses an Iraqi security agency that works with US advisors in Iraq, part of an international anti-jihadist coalition, while the other drone filming the operation crashed into a private members' sports club popular with Iraqi elite and foreign diplomats. Israel launched fresh strikes on Tehran and Beirut on Saturday after US President Donald Trump said he was considering winding down military operations against Iran following 3 weeks of war. After Iranian missile fire at Israel overnight, the Israeli military said it had carried out strikes on what it called regime targets in Iran's capital, which has been under bombardment since a US-Israeli attack started the war on the 28th of February. Now, beyond the Gulf, the war has spread to Lebanon, where the Israeli military has carried out regular bombardments in response to rocket fire by Iran ally Hezbollah. The Israeli military said it launched a wave of strikes against Hezbollah terrorist organization targets in the Lebanese capital early on Sunday. While it had called on residents to evacuate parts of Beirut's southern suburbs, which is a Hezbollah stronghold. Donald Trump has indicated that the US had made considerable progress both in crippling Iran's military as well as harming its ability to produce nuclear weapons. In a social media post, Trump said the US was close to meeting its objectives and may begin winding down its military campaign, claiming Iran's military capabilities had been severely degraded. He had earlier said he did not want a ceasefire. Well, Trump on to say that the Strait of Hormuz would have to be guarded by other nations which use it. Earlier on Friday, US President Donald Trump sharply criticized NATO allies over their lack of support during the US-Israel war against Iran, calling the long-time US allies coward. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said, "Without the US, NATO is a paper tiger," quote unquote. He accused member nations of refusing to join what he described as a fight to stop a nuclear-powered Iran, adding that the conflict had now been militarily won with minimal risk to them. The US military has deployed thousands more Marines to the West Asia as the conflict involving US, Israel and Iran entered its 4th week. 2,500 Marines, along with United States ship Boxer, an amphibious assault ship, and accompanying warships has been deployed to the region. The additional deployments will add to the 50,000 US troops already in West Asia and would bring 2 Marine expeditionary units to the region. The units can be used for carrying out strikes using the aircraft on board the ship or being deployed on the land. Earlier, the UK government authorized the United States to use its bases to strike Iranian sites threatening the Strait of Hormuz shipping lane. While Trump on Friday said the United Kingdom should have acted faster in offering help to the United States in its military action against Iran. Meanwhile, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei released a message on Friday marking the start of Persian New Year, which he named the year of a resistance economy under national unity and national security. The long statement, published on his Telegram channel, an official Iranian media, was the latest such message from Khamenei after he succeeded his father Ali Khamenei, who was killed in an airstrike at the start of the war on the 28th of February. He described the current war against Israel and the United States as the third war that the Islamic Republic has experienced over the last 12 months after the June 2025 12-day conflict with Israel, but also nationwide protests at the start of this year, which Tehran blamed on Israel and the US. Mojtaba Khamenei also said that attacks against Turkey and Oman were not carried out by Iran or its allied forces. Millions of people have rung in the Asian Persian New Year, Nowruz, as war grips the West Asia. The 3,000-year-old Zoroastrian-rooted celebration marks the beginning of spring in Northern Hemisphere and is celebrated by 300 million people in Iran and Central Asia. The Trump administration has waived sanctions on the purchase of Iranian oil at sea for 30 days on Friday in its latest attempt to ease oil prices. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent posted on X that the waiver will bring some 140 million barrels of oil to global market and help relieve pressure on energy supply. The move reflects White House worries that the surge in oil prices after nearly 3 weeks of US and Israeli strikes on Iran will hurt US businesses and consumers. Cuba, North Korea and Crimea are among the regions excluded from the license, which will remain in effect until the 19th of April. It was the third time the Treasury Department has temporarily waived sanctions on oil from US adversaries in a little more than 2 weeks. The Trump administration has temporarily lifted sanctions on Iran's oil exports for products already loaded on vessels and stranded at sea since March the 20th. Now, this narrow, short-term authorization issued by the Treasury Department via a general license runs until the 19th of April this year. The move aims to release about 140 million barrels into global markets to ease soaring prices caused by the US-Israel war with Iran and disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz. Broader sanctions on Iran's oil sector, reimposed in 2018-2019 after withdrawing from the nuclear deal, remains in full effect. Iran is ready to let Japanese-related vessels pass through the Strait of Hormuz, citing Iranian Foreign Minister Prasar Bharati. Arakchi told Japanese news agency that Tehran has started talks with Tokyo about the possibility of opening the Strait of Hormuz. Well, Japan gets around 90% of its oil shipments via the strait, which Tehran has largely closed during the US-Israeli war on Iran. President Donald Trump met Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi on Thursday, urging her to step up as he presses the allies to send warships to help open the Strait of Hormuz. Takaichi told reporters after the Washington summit that she had briefed Donald Trump on what support Japan could and could not provide in the strait under its law. United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby said the airline will cancel about 5% of planned flights in the short term as jet fuel prices surge due to the West Asia conflict. The airline's current plan is to restore the full schedule this fall. The airline is cancelling about 3 percentage points of capacity in off-peak periods during the second and the third quarters. It has also pulled services to Ben Gurion International Airport in Israel and the Dubai International Airport in UAE, affecting about 1 percentage point of its capacity. The airline will pull another percentage point of capacity to Chicago International Airport following the Federal Aviation Administration's plans to cut flights this summer. Now, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the UN is prepared to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz, noting the international body had helped broker a similar deal in the Black Sea between Russia and Ukraine to allow the transport of Ukrainian grain and fertilizer in 2022. In an interview to a US news outlet, Guterres said the UN is in talks with Gulf nations as well as the European Council about the ongoing situation. He called for an end to Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz, suggesting the UN could help protect the waterway and be a part of plans to de-escalate the attacks. The European Commission on Saturday urged European Union states to lower natural gas storage targets and start refilling reserves gradually to curb the demand after the West Asia war has disrupted key suppliers and triggered a surge in energy prices. EU Energy Commissioner Dan Johansson instructed member states to lower the filling target for their gas storage facilities to 80% of capacity, 10 percentage points below the European Union's official targets as early as possible in the filling season to provide certainty and reassurance to market participants. Global oil markets are facing intense volatility as Brent crude trades near $112.5 per barrel, which is 57.36% surge over the last month. Geopolitical tensions in West Asia, including the effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz, have disrupted nearly 20 million barrels of daily supply. West Texas Intermediate remains elevated above $113. Domestic impacts are immediate as India's crude basket peaked at $156.29 recently. Now, despite a 6.2 million barrel rise in US inventories, supply fears continue to dominate the global economic outlook. And to get you more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent Akshay Dungre. Good afternoon, Akshay. Well, Iran says it is ready to let Japanese vessels transit through the Strait of Hormuz. And on the other hand, there is a much important favor allowed by the US that aims to ease oil prices amid US-Israeli war in Iran. What more are you tracking on this, Akshay?
Well, as the tensions continue to remain in and around the Strait of Hormuz, it is getting increasingly difficult for the countries to get adequate amount of fuel, adequate amount of crude oil, adequate amount of fertilizers and other essential commodities from around the world. From this part of the region. So the tensions are not only limited to the West Asia, but it's now having a larger ramification for the entire global economy. And it seems that from initial on, when tall claims were made by the US, by Israel, that they will be in control of the region, it has turned upside down. And in fact, it is Iran now that is choosing who it will be allowing to take their tankers from the region, especially from the narrow pass of Strait of Hormuz and in and around the region as well, providing not only safety from the attacks but also sort of giving permissions to these tankers. So the tensions remain. There is absolutely no control that is there with the US and Israel as far as controlling who does trade in that part of the world, and it is Iran that is giving permission. So the situation does remain sort of complicated, to say the least. But if you also are taking into account the situation that is escalating in the region, we are hearing that US will be deploying troops, US will be deploying Marines in the region. There will be attempts to ensure that the Strait of Hormuz at least is secured, but that is going to be an uphill task for all the militaries that are working in the region. There are already drone strikes, missile strikes in the neighboring countries, especially on the US bases there. So the initial assessment that was done by the US and Israel, that this is going to be a quick war, this is going to be a replacement of the regime, as the US and Israel call it, that so far hasn't happened, and it seems to be a long-fetched war, a war of attribution, as according to many experts, that is not going to end well, especially for the global economy.
And amidst all this, what all is India currently doing to cope with the ongoing pressure on oil and gas supplies, Akshay?
Well, the Ministry of Petroleum, other ministries are regularly holding inter-ministerial press briefings where they have already explained that it's not just a few sellers that India is procuring crude oil from. There are about 40 countries that India is doing business with as far as these essential commodities are concerned. India is diversifying its crude basket. It is diversifying the region from where it procures all of these essential commodities, especially with the waiver of sanctions as far as the Russian crude oil is concerned. More shipments of Russian oil are moving towards India once again, after it was briefly stopped after the US and India entered into a trade negotiation. So the efforts are being made, but again the point remains that if it becomes a long-term war, if it becomes a war with no end, then sooner or later there are going to be more tensions that will be escalated as far as energy security, not only for India but for the rest of the world as well.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Akshay, for getting us the latest on the ongoing developing situations. And now let's also get your rounded perspective on this. And for this, I am joined by Dr. Rajan Kumar, who's the professor from School of International Studies, JNU. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for joining us at this afternoon broadcast. First, let's begin with the US waiver. Mike Waltz said on Friday that this move that the US is trying through this to defeat the Iranian strategy of driving energy prices, which are very high. But to what extent will it really help the stakeholders?
If I understood your question clearly, Deepika, are you trying to say that the US has given a waiver for the export of Iranian oil? That's what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
All right, yeah. So I think that waiver is necessary for the global market, and that waiver is necessary for the American market. The reason why US has taken that stand is US is not trying to do any favor to Iran, although some of the critics are saying that essentially that you are allowing Iran to sell oil, which was not allowed in the earlier period. But essentially, the pressure is on Trump to kind of do something so that the price of gas, Americans call it gasoline is the full form. So the price of gas for the American population that goes down, because United States gets really nervous and worried on two things in a war kind of situation. First, if the gas price, gas means oil price, petrol price, etc. If that price goes up, and if the body bags start coming, body bags mean soldiers dying in that process. So Trump is worried about the American population, and with the increasing gas price and oil price, etc., the price of crude has gone crossed 100, and Trump is trying every effort to keep it down below 100, because that's the kind of the magical number after which people in the United States really get nervous. So Trump's policy essentially to allow Iranian export to other country is to kind of convey a message to his domestic population that he's trying every effort to ensure the price doesn't go higher. So the predictions are from Saudi Arabian, for instance, and a lot of other people are saying, experts saying that it might cross if it continues like this in a few days, it might cross $125 a barrel. So that would create a massive economic crisis for United States, but also for the European countries, because most of the European oil, gas, etc., They go through the Strait of Hormuz and through the Mandeb, between the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, that narrow stretch that you have. Now Houthis are also saying that they'll try to attack ships passing through that area. So if all of that happen, there will be a massive energy crisis for the European countries. Europeans are not taking from Russia, as you know. So as a consequence, Europe will come under pressure, but not why Europe, the entire world will come under pressure. So the policy, that kind of waiver which has given to Iran is essentially, US is saying, Trump administration is saying that the oil is already waiting in the sea, which means it has gone out from Iran and somewhere in the ship is stuck in the Strait of Hormuz, and US is allowing those ships temporarily. They are not saying it's permanent. They're saying that they're allowing it temporarily so that it can reach to other market and the price can be controlled. So that's the policy of US at the moment.
And talking about it, how soon can we see its impact on the market supply? Will this immediately benefit the stakeholders, or will it take time? Because it's already a temporary window.
No, I don't think it will impact much because, even if the ships which are there in the Strait of Hormuz waiting for the transit, I think, they are not too much, and they cannot meet the kind of demand that we have from Japan, China, India, and European countries. So as a consequence, yes, it would be a temporary relief. It might kind of delay the crisis, but it will not solve the problem, let me tell you. But US is also working on other strategy. The other strategy is that US is probably planning to send its troop to control the Strait of Hormuz. The Marines are being sent, and the other ships are also moving towards that area. So there is some plan so that Europe, the United States can control the strait there. And there is some of the people are also saying that probably US will try to take control over the gas field of Iran. So these are the two possibilities that might happen in the future. We don't really know. Trump's statements are many times contradictory. Sometimes he says that he's winding up the war, and at the same time he's also sending the troops for some kind of operation there. So you don't really know what exactly is Pentagon planning. But at the moment, it seems the crisis is going to continue. Yes, some relief will come if those ships are stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. They are allowed to move from there by Iran, but also if US allows Iranian oil to be exported to other places. So some relief, but it would be extremely temporary and very short term.
Also, Professor Rajan, Iran says it is ready to let Japanese vessels transit the Strait of Hormuz. And on the other hand, 3 Indian vessels have already passed through the Strait of Hormuz in a sign of India's diplomatic victory. What does your assessment say about Iran's diplomacy amidst the ongoing conflict?
I think Iran is saying Iran is trying to escalate the cost and trying to put pressure on the global community, but also especially on the West Asian country, that if Iran is targeted through the bases in West Asia, then the only way that Iran can have some say in this asymmetrical warfare, because US and Israel, they're massive military power, and Iran is not in position to fight against that power. So Iran has adopted a different strategy, that it will escalate the cost, economic cost for the countries which are indirectly, not directly, but even indirectly supporting this war. So that is one, but also it is trying to put pressure on the global community that a country is being attacked, and it is not in position to kind of save itself against such a massive military. It is resisting, but again, the asymmetry is too big. So in that situation, it has adopted economic strategy where it is escalating the cost for the nearby country, but also for the global community, so that the global community can put pressure on United States to kind of go for some kind of negotiation or go for some kind of ceasefire. But so far as India is concerned, let me tell you that India has a very strong ties. India had traditionally, we have a very good relationship with Iran. Our minister has also, in the recent weeks, we have seen that we have talked to Iran, and Iranian naval ship, as you know, that was participating in a naval drill in India. So that shows the kind of cooperation and relationship that we have. Iran allowed 3 ships, and I'm sure, I can guarantee you that if India talks, and I'm sure India is talking, many more ships would be allowed. from Iran to India, and Iran is also a member of BRICS, and Iran would be expecting some kind of support from BRICS member, where India is the host, India is the chairing, India is the president. Iran would be expecting some kind of support from that organization, and for that, Iran would be happy to release and allow Indian ships or other ships to come to India. So I don't think Iran should have much objection so far as India is concerned.
And also, marking Nowruz, Iran's supreme leader vowed to achieve economic resilience and also highlighted the importance for the country to maintain relations with the neighbors, which you also just mentioned. If you relate this particular statement with the diplomatic moves with regards to the Strait of Hormuz, do we see an indication and willingness to resolve the conflict soon here? Because Mojtaba also agreed about Iran's economic weakness in a statement on Telegram and other platforms.
Yes, this war is hugely asymmetric. Military to military, if you do a comparison, Iran doesn't stand in front of the United States and Israel together. Its military and political leadership that has been eliminated. Iran adopted a kind of secondary strategy where you put pressure on countries through economic warfare or through troubling the allies, etc. So far as I think, at this moment, we don't really know that what will happen to the war, because U.S. strategy is also not very clear in the region. People, if you follow the Western narrative, there are two kinds of narratives which are being peddled from the Western media. First narrative is that Israel is very clear its objective, where it is seeking some kind of destruction of civil and military and economic capabilities of Iran. But US does not have that objective. Yes, US wanted a regime change, but if a regime change doesn't happen, US is not looking for some kind of complete destruction of this economic gas, oil, etc. capability or civil infrastructure of Iran. So there is a difference in strategy, and some of it reflected when Trump said that when Israel targeted the gas field of south parts of Iran, US was not aware of it. So some kind of these differences are there so far as the strategy is concerned. So as a consequence, they're working on different strategies. Sometimes there is lack of coordination, but also Trump is also sending contradictory messages. Today or yesterday's statement came that Trump is saying that he is trying to wind up this operation in Iran. But again, as I said, that he's also sending military in the region. So we don't really know what exactly is the plan. But at this moment, I can tell you that US is not going to withdraw. For the simple reason that Trump will not have much to show to his domestic population. Because Trump cannot claim victory just by saying that it has decimated the military capability or the security capability of Iran, because the major purpose was regime change. That has not happened. And Israel, if US withdraws at this point of time, it will create a massive crisis for the US diplomacy, where its allies in the region, they will turn suspicious and they cannot rely on United States as a guarantor of his security. So I think the Pentagon and American expert thinkers, they are aware of this kind of predicament, and as a consequence, they will not immediately withdraw. And Trump has to get something from Iran to show something to his population, and it's very likely that his military forces, which are being sent, they will try to capture some of the gas field or the oil field of Iran, and then it can show that okay, we have decimated the political leadership, and we also have some economic benefits from that region.
All right, remains to be seen what happens. Well, thank you so much, Professor Rajan, for joining us and getting us a rounded perspective on the latest developing situations across the West Asia on the ongoing conflict. On to Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Ukrainian and US negotiators will meet in the United States on Saturday in a bid to revive stalled talks on the ongoing conflict with Russia. Ukrainian President Zelensky, in his address, said that it was important that there are signals from the American side regarding their readiness to continue working within the existing negotiation formats to end the conflict.
It is also important that we got signals from the American side as to them being ready to continue the negotiations to end the Russian war on Ukraine along already available tracks. There has been a pause in the talks. It is time to end that, and we will do everything so that the talks can be truly meaningful. The Ukrainian team, especially the political side of it, is already on the way, and we expect a meeting on Saturday in the United States.
Now, last week, Russian President Vladimir Putin's envoy, Kirill Dmitriev, held talks with U.S. negotiators in Florida, including President Donald Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and son-in-law, Jared Kushner. The discussions in Florida came after the United States lifted some sanctions on Russian oil. Meanwhile, Ukraine launched one of its largest drone barrages of the war, sending more than 280 unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs into Russian territory overnight. The Russian Defense Ministry reported intercepting 283 drones in total, while the authorities have downed around 90 drones in the southern Rostov region. Moscow's mayor confirmed that about 27 drones were neutralized over the capital. In the southwestern Saratov region, drone strikes have injured 2 people and damaged several homes. Kyiv described the operation as a retaliation to a Russian attack that has left most in the Chernihiv region without power. Time for a quick and short break, but still to come on the other side. Indian Airlines gradually restores services to conflict-affected parts of the West Asia. Government ensures adequate and timely availability of fertilizers across the country by increasing import rate. And after the break, we'll get you visuals from different parts of the country celebrating third day of Navratri.
What we throw away doesn't disappear, it just changes form. Cutting this means changing the habits and systems behind it.
First we went with the awareness. So after that slowly we started doing composting awareness. Then next plastic ban something. So simultaneously here I will tell mainly due to the citizen participation.
When the riverfront development and all that started, that is when you started realizing you're losing everything because it's no longer like it used to be. So that was a thing which caused me to start volunteering and doing what I could.
Quickly became clear that a new turbine would be too expensive for a small one to be installed on that site and not to be profitable anymore.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time to quickly recap top headlines of the hour. Iran's supreme leader vows to achieve economic resistance in a written message marking Nowruz. Meanwhile, European Union urges members to cut gas storage targets due to Iran war. Trump administration waived sanctions on the purchase of Iranian oil at sea for 30 days. Move expected to benefit West Asia, particularly the top buyer of West Asian oil. US and Ukrainian negotiators to hold talks in Miami today amid the escalating tensions as Russia attacks Kyiv's oil and gas facilities in Poltava. And India, along with part of the world, celebrates Eid ul-Fitr, marking the culmination of month-long Ramazan fasting. President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi extend greetings on the festive day. Indian Airlines are gradually restoring services to conflict-affected parts of West Asia. Air India and Air India Express will together operate 42 scheduled and non-scheduled flights to and from the West Asia on Saturday. The airline stated that they will continue to schedule flights to Jeddah and Muscat. Now together, the two carriers will run 16 flights between India and Jeddah. These include Air India's return services from Delhi and Mumbai, along with an Air India Express flight from Hyderabad. Air India will also operate 8 scheduled flights to and from Muscat from Delhi, Kochi, Kozhikode and Mumbai. Now, in addition to the scheduled network, the group will also provide services for 26 non-scheduled flights to and from the UAE. The airline said that these services are subject to availability of slots and other prevailing conditions at the departure stations at the time. Now, no flights are scheduled for Bahrain, Doha, Kuwait, Riyadh, Dammam or Tel Aviv on 21st of March as of now. India is accelerating its transformation into a global logistics powerhouse even as geopolitical tensions in the West Asia continue to disrupt global supply chains. In a strong push to boost efficiency and reduce costs, the government is undertaking major reforms to modernize the country's logistics ecosystem. Now, India's logistics cost about 7.97% of the GDP or 24 lakh crore rupees, which is now at the heart of a major reform push, marking a phase of rapid structural transformation powered by policy reforms, digital innovation and infrastructure expansion. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has emphasized resilience amid global supply disruptions, reaffirming India's proactive approach. Flagship initiatives like the National Logistic Policy and PM Gati Shakti are driving integration and data-led planning, while the SMILE program is already improving freight movement, last-mile delivery and congestion in pilot cities. With strong policy support and clear direction, India is steadily emerging as a resilient, efficient and logistics hub, strengthening its global competitiveness. Now, the Government of India has also ensured the adequate and timely availability of fertilizers across the country by increasing imports to bridge the gap between domestic production and rising demand. The Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers has informed that there has been a significant increase in imports during the current financial year as compared to the same period last year. Moving on, the External Affairs Ministry's fact-check unit has debunked claims on social media that US has asked permission from India to support a military asset that will be used to bomb Iran. MEA has termed these claims as false and baseless and asked the people to please stay alert against such false and baseless claims and posts doing rounds on social media. While much of diplomacy highlights politics, it is the quiet yet indispensable work of consular services that connect states to people and give diplomacy its most human face. The Honorary Council Corps Diplomatique HCCD India organized the Consular Day 2026 in New Delhi on Friday. Chief guest for the occasion, Member of Lok Sabha Shashi Tharoor, was awarded the honorary consuls who've done excellent work in connecting people to the states they represent. Now, addressing the gathering, Shashi Tharoor highlighted how consular work gives diplomacy its most human face. Take a listen.
Consular services give everyday meaning to international cooperation. In many ways, it is through these everyday interactions that nations are most authentically experienced. Long before policies are analyzed and positions are debated, it is often a consular encounter that shapes an individual's perception of a country, its efficiency, its fairness, and its regard for those who engage with it. These seemingly routine exchanges, whether in moments of urgency or in the ordinary course of travel and exchange, collectively contribute to the credibility and character of a nation in the eyes of the world.
Recipient of the Consul of the Year award, Neeraj Sharma, highlighted the difference between an honorary consul diplomat and a career diplomat.
A consular diplomat and a career diplomat, an honorary diplomat basically, the differentiation is that the country appoints you wherever they can establish embassies, they appoint ambassadors, and countries which can't afford the consular missions, there they appoint people of repute, people of eminence as honorary consuls or honorary consul generals. In India, we are more than 160, 170 of us, which look after different cities. And I represent Palau, a very small Micronesia island in the Pacific, and is a great feeling and motivates us to work more and more for the benefit of the people of Palau, people of India. And once you are in public service, you don't differentiate between an Indian or a Palauan. For you, as a public servant, everybody is equal.
The gathering also witnessed the Vivek Burman Dabur Peace Prize being bestowed upon an NGO called Vanvasi Raksha Parivar Foundation, New Delhi.
This award of Vivek Burman Dabur Peace Prize was established about 6 years back. It has gone to the best of the people in India, and finally this year it has gone to the Vanvasi Foundation. We are very proud to present them this Vivek Burman Dabur Peace Prize because they are doing excellent job by promoting the village folks and the downtrodden in the country.
Now, on the West Asia conflict, Shashi Tharoor underscored how the problems of oil and gas supply have become a serious issue worldwide. He added that no one wants to see this war continue, and ideally, India should lead an international effort to bring this war to an end.
Now, look, this crisis is affecting us, it's affecting many other countries in the region and beyond, because now as oil prices go up and gas supplies go down, you're looking at problems facing everybody. Factories as far as Korea and Africa are being affected. I certainly think that we should be part of, and ideally we should lead, an international effort to bring this war to an end. There are many countries that will join us. No one wants to see this war continue. It's hurting a lot of us who have nothing to do with this conflict. And I think the time has come now to get both sides to climb down from their positions. They need our help, they need our encouragement, and that of other countries. I hope we will play our part. I'm not the only one calling for this, but in India I've been saying this now for some days. Yesterday I was joined by the former Greek Prime Minister who's echoed my call. Others are saying similar things. We need to see this end. If you saw the appeal from the Omani Foreign Minister, very, very important gesture. I think many countries are saying that we absolutely have to bring this war to a close. It is doing far too much damage, and it's not clear at all what good it's doing to anybody.
And he further advocated for greater women representation in the parliament, highlighting the structural imbalances in all political parties that tend to make them male-dominated.
No, look, I have been for some time very much in favor of greater women's representation. I was one of the advocates of the Women's Representation Bill in the absence of any other provision, at least with automatic reservations now. From the next opportunity, we will find that women are given more of a chance to be able to be elected. I gather the government is also keen on pushing this without further delay. I think that all of this reflects certain structures and imbalances within political parties, which frankly have tended to be male-dominated. And I'm sorry to say, I do agree that when women are half the population, that they get only 9.8% of the seats. But when women's reservation comes, I think that will be an end to these debates, and we will see a fair opportunity to more hardworking women leaders.
All right, moving on. Now Saturday marks the third day of Chaitra Navratri. The third day of Navratri is devoted to Ma Chandraghanta, who is revered for bringing peace, prosperity and courage, and symbolizes the elimination of negativity. She embodies both bravery and calmness and is commonly linked with the color royal blue. And today, the festival of Eid is being celebrated across the country. The festival marks the conclusion of the holy month of Ramadan. And on this occasion, an atmosphere of great enthusiasm and festivity is visible across the country. Let's take a closer look at this report.
The festival of Eid is being celebrated across the entire country today with great enthusiasm. It is the most significant festival for Muslims. Eid is celebrated at the conclusion of the holy month of Ramadan. After observing a month-long fast, this day arrives bearing a message of joy and gratitude. It radiates smiles and love in every direction. Eid al-Fitr is not merely a festival, rather it is a day that conveys a message of patience, gratitude, and humanity. The festival of Eid conveys to us a message of brotherhood and mutual love. It teaches us the values of love, tolerance, and caring for one another. On the occasion of Eid, especially during the Eid prayers, fitra is distributed among the poor in the neighborhood, ensuring that the underprivileged neighbors can also partake in this celebration. On the day of Eid, all Muslims don new clothes and proceed to the Idgah to offer their prayers. At the Idgah, Muslims express their gratitude to Allah and pray for the progress and prosperity of the nation. Following the prayers, people embrace one another and exchange Eid greetings. Everyone celebrates Eid together and visits their loved ones.
यही ख्वाहिश है कि हिंदुस्तान में चैन सुकून अमन रहे, सभी इदारों में एक दूसरे के साथ भाईचारा रहे,
हमारे मुल्क में एक खुशहाली रहे, अमन रहे और भाईचारा रहे और हिंदुस्तान जो है एक गंगा जमुना की हमारी एक तहजीब है, सभ्यता है.
Preparations for Eid begins well in advance. All the shops and markets bustles with activity. Everyone purchases new clothes, vermicelli, sweets and dry fruits for the occasion. The markets are brightly illuminated with lights. Shops selling bangles and henna for women are beautifully decorated. On this occasion, the children's joy knows no bounds. During Eid, children decorate their residential colonies with colorful lights. Thus, it can be said that this festival fosters a spirit of joy, spirituality, and human dignity among the people. Bureau Report, DD India.
President Draupadi Murmu extended her greetings to the countrymen. In a post on X, President wrote, and I quote her here, "Heartiest congratulations to all fellow citizens, especially Muslim sisters and brothers, on the blessed occasion of Eid ul Fitr. This festival imparts the lesson of self-restraint, service, philanthropy and compassion towards the underprivileged sections. Let us, on this occasion, resolve to strengthen society and the nation," unquote. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended his greetings on Eid ul Fitr and wished that this day further brotherhood and kindness all around. May everyone be happy and healthy. Muslims across Sri Lanka are celebrating Eid ul Fitr today with prayers, charity and community gatherings. Since early morning, large congregations assemble at mosque and open grounds nationwide for special Eid prayers, with one of the main gatherings held at Golf Face Green in Colombo. Worshippers exchanged greetings and embraced the festive spirit as families and friends came together to mark the occasion. Bangladesh is also celebrating Eid ul Fitr with religious fervour, marking the end of the holy month of Ramadan through prayers, charity and community gatherings. Thousands of worshippers gathered at mosques and open grounds nationwide from early morning, exchanging greetings and embracing the spirit of the festival. Special prayers were offered, seeking peace and stability for recent ongoing conflicts around the world, including the West Asia. The main Eid congregation was held at the National Eidgah in Dhaka, where President Mohammad Shahabuddin and Prime Minister Tariq Rahman offered prayers together. Beyond prayers, traditional observances such as visiting the graves of loved ones and distributing charity marked the day, reflecting the core values of compassion and generosity associated with Eid. Moving on now, let's get you global weather updates. Well, a record early heat wave striking the west of the United States on Friday is a 1 in 500 years type event. The heat has been toppling records this week and was set to continue into the weekend across western cities and expanding eastward. 4 spots in the desert area near the California-Arizona state border registered 112 Fahrenheit on Friday. The National Weather Service issued extreme heat warnings on Friday for much of the southwest, ranging from Los Angeles and coastal Southern California to Las Vegas. Now, more than 100-time March record all highs were already broken or tied this week across several states in the western high plains, including California, Arizona, Colorado, and South Dakota. The heat wave poses a significant public health threat, particularly given its timing early in the season. The persistent heat dome is creating stable atmospheric conditions, suppressing cloud formation and precipitation, while allowing the temperature to climb, thus expected to cause persistent heat. The U.S. state of Hawaii is facing its worst flooding in over 2 decades after heavy rains hit areas already soaked by a recent winter storm. Officials have warned that more rainfall is expected over the weekend. Muddy floodwaters have inundated large parts of Oahu's north shore, a region known globally for big wave surfing. Strong currents swept away cars and damaged homes, forcing around 5,500 people north of Honolulu to evacuate. Most parts of the state remain under a flood watch, with areas like Aluwa and Wololo facing flash flood warnings. Some of the regions received up to 12 inches of rain overnight. Officials in Hawaii have ordered nearly 4,000 people living near the Wahoia Dam or Oahu to evacuate immediately following the intense rainfall. Although water levels began to recede by late Friday, authorities cautioned that the situation could worsen if heavy rain continues in the region. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued an orange alert for thunderstorms accompanied by hailstorms over Odisha, West Bengal and Sikkim for Saturday. The Met Department has also predicted thunderstorms accompanied by lightning and gusty winds at isolated places over several states including Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, Telangana, Arunachal Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry till Sunday. You're watching Daily India News Hour, and now it's time to get you all the latest action from the world of sports, to begin with badminton. India's rising stars Tanvi Sharma and Isharani Barua will be in action today in the semi-finals of the Orleans Masters Super 300 badminton tournament in France. Tanvi Sharma and Isharani both secured victories in their quarter-final matches on Friday, keeping India's hopes for a podium finish in women's singles alive. Tanvi, the 17-year-old phenom, is past 6th seed Natsuki Nadiara of Japan. She will face former world champion Nozomi Okuhara of Japan in the semi-finals. Isharani advanced to the semi-finals after compatriot Malvika Bansod retired midway from their All-India last 8 clash. Barua will face Thailand's Pinchaman Optaminut in her semi-final clash. In tennis, world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz cruised into the third round of the Miami Open with a composed victory over Joao Fonseca. Top seed Alcaraz overcame Brazil's teenager under the lights, breaking early in both sets and rarely troubled on serve. Alcaraz was playing his first match at the tournament this year after receiving a first-round bye. The Spaniard used his speed and heavy forehand to advance into the third round, where he will face Sebastian Korda. Meanwhile, Stefanos Tsitsipas claimed a notable upset and continued his resurgence at the ATP Masters 1000 event. Tsitsipas produced one of his best performances in recent months, defeating 5th seed Alex de Minaur in the second round. De Minaur mounted a strong challenge, but Tsitsipas held firm to seal victory in tiebreaker, setting up next clash with Francis Arthur Fils in the third round. In cricket, reigning T20 World Cup champions India will travel to Ireland for a 2-match T20I series in the month of June. This will be India's first T20I assignment since winning the World Cup. India toured Ireland in 2018, 2022 and 2023. This tour will mark their return to Belfast for the first time since 2007. For Ireland, the series is part of a busy 2026 schedule. The team are also set to play a one-off test against New Zealand and a 5-match ODI series against Afghanistan. Following the Ireland series, India will travel to England for a white ball tour starting the 1st of July. The tour includes 5 T20 internationals, followed by 3 ODIs. Today, March the 21st, we join hands to celebrate the International Day of Forests, a day established by the United Nations to recognize and protect one of our planet's most vital resources. Forests are not only home to over 60,000 tree species, but they also support 80% of the world's terrestrial biodiversity. DD India's Taposh Bhattacharya with more inputs.
Forests cover nearly one-third of Earth's land, yet they hold 80% of all terrestrial biodiversity and support the livelihoods of over 1.6 billion people worldwide. Recognizing their critical role, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed March 21st as the International Day of Forests in 2012, a day to celebrate and raise awareness about the importance of all types of forests. The 2026 theme, Forests and Economies, highlights how forests are not just ecological assets, but powerful drivers of economic growth and sustainability. India has achieved significant milestone in global forest statistics by advancing to the 9th position worldwide in terms of total forest area, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO's Global Forest Resources Assessment. The country also stands third in annual net forest gain. Forests in India remove nearly 150 million tons of carbon dioxide every year, making the country the 5th largest global carbon sink. As India moves towards a sustainable bioeconomy, forest-based solutions are emerging as alternatives to carbon-intensive materials, boosting green jobs and rural economies. From conservation to economic empowerment, India's forests are not just natural assets, they are engines of a greener, more resilient future. Taposh Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Festive greetings to all our viewers on the occasion of Navratri, Nowruz and Eid. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.